The great hall of the Galactic Council fell silent as the transmission began. Ambassador Elena's face appeared on the massive holographic display, her features tired and marked by years of struggle. Behind her, through the window of the orbital station, Earth hung like a dying ember against the black of space. "This is Ambassador Elena Mitchell of the United Earth Government," she began, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "I am transmitting what will be our final official communication to the Galactic Council." In the circular chamber, representatives from dozens of alien species watched with varying degrees of interest. The tall, blue-skinned Nexari shifted in, their floating chairs, their three eyes blinking in sequence. The ancient Vorthak, their scaled forms hunched over crystal control panels, made soft clicking sounds of disapproval. Even the usually kind Eldorians with their soft fur and large compassionate eyes seemed uncomfortable. As of today, Elena continued, Earth's atmospheric systems have reached critical failure. Our oceans are boiling away. The magnetic field is collapsing. In less than 72 hours, our homeworld will no longer be able to support life. A low murmur swept through the chamber. Council Speaker Vextal, a towering Nexari with golden skin markings that showed his high rank, raised one of his four arms for silence. Elena's image flickered as her transmission struggled against the electromagnetic storms now raging around Earth. "We formally request refugee status for all remaining human colonies and settlements. Our total population across all worlds is approximately 2.7 million individuals." The Nexari delegation began whispering among themselves. One of them, Councillor Nexara, leaned forward. "How pathetic," she said in her musical voice. "They clung to that dying rock until the very end. Such primitive attachment to a single world." "Indeed," rumbled Elder Vorthak Kulmesh, his ancient voice carrying the weight of 10,000 years. "In our long history, we have seen many species rise and fall. Those who cannot adapt to the greater galaxy are doomed to extinction. It is the natural order." On the far side of the chamber, Eldorian Representative Timko shook his furry head sadly. "Perhaps we should have done more to help them earlier. They seemed so young as a species." "Help them with what?" Nexara's laugh was like silver bells. "They destroyed their own world through poor management. What could we have taught beings who cannot even maintain their own atmosphere?" The transmission continued. Elena's voice grew stronger, more determined. "We do not ask for charity. Human colonies have already proven their worth as workers, researchers, and contributors to galactic society. We have much to offer." "Such as?" Councillor Vextal asked, though his tone suggested he expected no meaningful answer. "Our adaptability," Elena replied, as if she could hear him. "Our willingness to work in conditions others find impossible. Our different perspective on problems that have challenged the galaxy for generations." More whispers, this time tinged with amusement. The Zenthari delegation, insectoid beings with compound eyes, buzzed with what passed for laughter among their kind. "Different perspective," one of them clicked. "Yes, the perspective of failure." Dr. Marcus Chen watched the transmission from Luna Station, one of the last functioning human outposts. The small research facility orbited Earth's moon, its handful of scientists and technicians bearing witness to their homeworld's final hours. "They don't understand," whispered Dr. Amy Walsh, Marcus's assistant. Her eyes were red from crying, but her voice was steady. "They think we're just another failed species." Marcus nodded, his weathered face grim. Around him, displays showed Earth's deteriorating condition. The atmosphere was bleeding away into space. Massive storms covered entire continents. The poles had melted completely, and the remaining land masses were disappearing under boiling seas. "Maybe that's for the best," he said quietly. "Let them underestimate us." On the main screen, Elena was concluding her message. "We understand that our request may be viewed unfavorably. We know that Earth's fall will be seen as evidence of our species' weakness, but I want the Council to remember this moment. Remember that we asked for help, and consider carefully what answer you give." Her image stabilized for a moment, and her eyes seemed to look directly into the camera, Because the human species is not ending today. We are beginning something new. The transmission cut out. In the great hall, silence stretched for several seconds before the discussions began. Dramatic words from a dying species, Vextall observed. Very human, this tendency toward empty theatrics. Elder Kulmesh's massive form shifted in his chair. I propose we offer limited refugee status. Basic survival assistance only. They may serve as cautionary example to other young species about the importance of proper planetary stewardship. Agreed, said several voices at once. Aldorian Timko raised a gentle objection. Perhaps we could offer more substantial aid. Their scientists have made some interesting discoveries. Nothing that our own researchers could not achieve given time, Nexara replied dismissively. No, basic refugee status is generous enough. They should be grateful for even that much consideration. The vote was swift and unanimous. Humanity would receive minimal assistance, enough to survive, but nothing more. They would be classified as a failed sapient species, a designation that carried significant legal and social implications throughout the galaxy. Back on Luna Station, Marcus made his decision. His fingers moved across the control panel, entering codes that he had hoped never to use. Around him, his small team watched in growing alarm. Marcus, what are you doing? Amy asked. Activating the Genesis protocol, he replied without looking up. The blood drained from her face. That project was abandoned for good reason. The calculations showed it could destabilize entire solar systems. The calculations assumed normal parameters, Marcus said. But Earth is already dying. We have nothing left to lose. Dr. James Park, the station's chief engineer, stepped forward. The energy requirements alone would drain every power cell we have. And even if it works, the process could take centuries. Then we better hope humanity survives long enough to see the results, Marcus replied. The Genesis protocol had been developed in secret during Earth's final decades. It was designed to accelerate planetary recovery using controlled quantum manipulation of geological and atmospheric processes. The theory was sound, but the risks were enormous. A single miscalculation could shatter a world instead of healing it. As Marcus's fingers danced over the controls, Earth continued its death spiral below them. Massive chunks of the planet's crust were breaking away, drawn into space by the collapsing magnetic field. The sight was both terrible and beautiful, like watching a star die in slow motion. Protocol activated, Marcus announced. Signal sent to all deep space probes. The process will begin in 6 hours. Amy stared at him. You're gambling with the entire solar system. I'm gambling that humans are more than the galaxy thinks we are, he corrected. Elena was right. This isn't our end. It's our beginning. In the depths of space, automated probes that had been drifting for decades suddenly came to life. They had been sent out years ago as part of a terraforming research project, carrying experimental equipment that most humans had forgotten about. Now they began moving toward Earth, their quantum processors calculating trajectories and energy patterns that would either save their homeworld or destroy it completely. The Galactic Council meeting continued for several more hours, but the discussion had moved on to other matters. Humanity's request had been processed and filed away. They were now officially classified as refugees, a minor species of little importance, survivors of their own mistakes. None of the alien representatives bothered to monitor Earth's final hours. They assumed they knew how the story would end. A world would die, a species would scatter to the stars as broken survivors, and eventually, they would fade into obscurity like so many others before them. They could not have been more wrong. Earth's sun set on what everyone believed would be the planet's final day. Something unprecedented began to happen. Deep beneath the dying world's surface, quantum fields started to pulse with impossible energies. The Genesis protocol was beginning its work, rewriting the fundamental laws that govern planetary death and rebirth. But that was a secret only. A handful of humans knew. To the galaxy, Earth was simply another failure, a cautionary tale about species that could not manage their own worlds. Soon, they would learn that humans had a very different relationship with failure than anyone expected. 20 years had passed since Earth's final transmission. The galaxy had moved on, as it always did. New trade routes opened, old conflicts settled into routine, and the various species continued their endless dance of politics and commerce. Humanity had become little more than a footnote in galactic history, but humans were still there, scattered across dozens of worlds like seeds on the stellar wind. On the mining world of Kepler 442b, Jake Morrison wiped sweat from his forehead as he emerged from the deep tunnels. The air recyclers in this section were failing again, and the Xanthari overseers didn't care enough to fix them properly. After all, humans could work in conditions that would kill most other species. Another cave-in on level 7, reported Lisa Chen, her mining suit covered in red dust. Third one this month. Jake nodded grimly. The Xanthari pushed them harder each quarter, demanding more ore from increasingly dangerous sections of the mine. They paid humans half what they paid other workers, claiming it was appropriate compensation for an unestablished species. Any injuries, Jake asked? Tom got his arm crushed, but he'll live. The medic says he'll be back to work in a week. A week. Jake remembered when a crushed arm would have meant months of recovery back on Earth. But humans had adapted. They healed faster now, worked longer, survived conditions that sent other species running for safety. The Xanthari mine supervisor, a large insect-like creature named Ziktar, approached with his usual clicking gait. Morrison human, he buzzed. Production numbers are down 2% this cycle. Explain. The tunnels are unstable, Jake replied calmly. We need better support structures or we'll lose entire sections. Ziktar's compound eyes glittered with annoyance. Humans are supposed to be adaptable. That is why we employ your kind. If you cannot perform your duties, perhaps we should find workers from another species. Jake met the alien's gaze steadily. Good luck finding anyone else willing to work at these depths. The radiation alone would cook most species in an hour. The Xanthari made an angry buzzing sound but said nothing more. It was true, and they both knew it. Humans had become the galaxy's go-to workers for impossible jobs. They went places others couldn't, survived conditions that would be fatal to most species and asked for little in return. But Jake saw something in his fellow humans that their alien employers missed. They weren't just surviving, they were learning. Every technique, every technology, every piece of knowledge they encountered was being absorbed and shared through their growing network. Meanwhile, on the trade hub of Newcaster, Dr. Anna Rodriguez sat in her small office surrounded by data tablets and holographic displays. For 20 years, she had been documenting alien languages, cultures, and technologies. What had started as simple academic curiosity had become something much more significant. Computer, display comparative analysis of Nexari and Vorthak engineering. Principles, she said. The hologram shifted to show complex diagrams and equations. Anna studied them carefully, making notes on her tablet. After 2 decades of observation, she had noticed something that the aliens themselves seemed blind to. Patterns in their thinking that created weaknesses. The Nexari, for all their technological advancement, were trapped by their rigid hierarchical mindset. They approached every problem from the top down, which made them incredibly efficient but also predictable. The Vorthak, with their ancient wisdom, were so bound by tradition that they couldn't adapt to truly new situations. Each species had similar blind spots, born from the very strengths that had made them successful. But humans, scattered and desperate, had learned to see past those limitations. Anna's door chimed. She looked up to see Captain Roy Williams enter, still wearing his ship captain's uniform despite being officially grounded for the past 6 months. Any luck with the settlement applications? She asked. Roy shook his head bitterly. Denied again. The Aldorians say we need proper planetary management credentials before they'll consider letting us establish a permanent colony. The Nexari want us to pay fees we can't afford. And the Vorthak? He paused, running a hand through his graying hair. The Vorthak just laughed. We're nomads to them, Anna said softly. Reminders of what happens when a species fails to properly manage their homeworld. Maybe that's what we are, Roy replied, sinking into a chair. I've been leading refugee fleets for 20 years, Anna, moving from system to system, begging for scraps. Sometimes I wonder if they're right about us. Anna turned to face him fully. Roy, look at this data. Really look at it. She gestured to her displays. We're not the same species that left Earth. We're adapting faster than any species in recorded galactic history. She pulled up another set of data. Jake's mining crews on Kepler 442b are extracting ore from depths that were considered impossible 15 years ago. The human settlements on Titan 7 are thriving in atmospheric conditions that require full environmental suits for other species. And your own fleet has survived in deep space longer than any previous refugee group. Roy studied the information with growing interest. I hadn't thought about it that way. Because we're too close to see it, Anna continued. But I've been watching, documenting, analyzing. We're not just surviving, Roy, we're evolving. Her communication system chimed with an incoming message. Anna activated it, and the face of Dr. Ben Parker appeared on the screen. He looked older than his 50 years, but his eyes were bright with excitement. Anna, Roy, you need to see this, he said without preamble. I'm transmitting the latest data from the atmospheric processors on Colony 7. Anna's screen filled with technical readouts. What am I looking at, Ben? Efficiency ratings that shouldn't be possible. The humans there have modified the terraforming equipment using techniques from 3 different alien technologies. They've increased output by 40% while reducing power consumption by half. Roy leaned forward. How? They're thinking outside the boxes that trap each individual species, Ben explained. Nexari technology is incredibly precise but inflexible. Vorthak systems are powerful but wasteful. Eldorian designs are efficient but limited in scope. But humans are combining elements from all of them in ways that none of those species would ever consider. Anna felt a thrill of understanding. Because we don't have their cultural limitations. Exactly. We're approaching their technologies with completely fresh perspectives, and because we've been forced to work with all of them as refugees and laborers, we understand their systems better than they realize. The conversation continued for another hour, with more reports coming in from human settlements across the galaxy. A pattern was emerging. Humans weren't just adapting to alien technologies, they were improving them. On the mining world, Jake was having his own revelations. As he worked the deep tunnels, he had begun to notice flaws in the Zinthari mining equipment. The aliens used brute force approaches that worked but wasted enormous amounts of energy and materials. During his break, he sketched modifications in his personal journal, simple changes that could increase efficiency by significant margins. He shared these ideas with other human workers, who added their own insights and improvements. We should tell the supervisors, suggested Lisa. Jake shook his head. Not yet. Let's perfect these modifications first. When we're ready, we'll show them what humans can really do. Similar conversations were happening on dozens of worlds. Human communities were connecting through encrypted communications, sharing discoveries and innovations. What the galaxy saw as scattered refugees were actually becoming something unprecedented. A distributed civilization with knowledge and perspectives drawn from every major species in known space. The Galactic Council's classification of humans as a failed sapient species had become a kind of protection. Nobody paid much attention to failed species. They were allowed to move freely as laborers and refugees, which gave them access to technologies and information that would normally be restricted. But the galaxy was starting to notice small changes. Problems that had stumped alien scientists for years were being solved by human workers. Efficiency improvements were appearing in systems where humans had been employed. Trade routes were becoming more profitable in sectors with significant human populations. Most alien administrators dismissed these improvements as lucky accidents or statistical anomalies. After all, what could a failed species possibly teach them? Captain Roy began to understand what Anna had been trying to tell him. As he looked at the latest reports from human settlements, he saw the truth. They weren't refugees anymore. They weren't even the same species that had fled Earth's destruction. They were becoming something new, something that the galaxy had never Seen before? The question was, how long before the rest of the galaxy realized it too? 50 years had passed since Earth's fall, and the galaxy was beginning to notice something strange. On the industrial world of Titan 7, Chief Engineer Lisa Park stood in the middle of what should have been a disaster zone. The atmospheric processors had failed 3 days ago, leaving the colony exposed to air that would kill most species within minutes. The Nexari administrators had evacuated immediately, expecting to return to find only corpses. Instead, they found humans working calmly in the toxic atmosphere, repairing equipment with their bare hands. "This is impossible," muttered Supervisor Nexaquan as he watched through the safety of his environmental suit. "The air contains sulfur compounds that should burn their lungs. The radiation levels are triple the safe limit for most species." Lisa looked up from the processor she was fixing and smiled. "It's uncomfortable, but we can handle it for a few hours. My daughter was born here. She can work in this atmosphere all day without problems." The Nexari supervisor stared at her, in disbelief. Lisa's daughter, Emma, was only 20 years old but showed no signs of distress as she welded components in air that would be deadly to most galactic species. Her skin had a slight gray tint, an adaptation that helped filter radiation, and her lung capacity was nearly double that of Earth-born humans. "How?" Nexquan asked. "Evolution doesn't stop just because we left Earth," Lisa replied, not looking up from her work. "Humans adapt. It's what we do." The truth was more complex than Lisa let on. Over 5 decades, human communities had been quietly documenting and encouraging beneficial mutations. Children born on high radiation worlds developed natural resistance. Those raised in low-gravity environments gained enhanced reflexes. Communities in toxic atmospheres evolved improved respiratory systems. What the aliens saw as impossible survival was actually rapid human evolution guided by intelligence and necessity. Dr. Tom Bradley had been studying this phenomenon from his research station on Orbital 9. As the galaxy's leading expert on human biology, a title that meant little since most aliens considered human biology primitive, he had access to data from human settlements across known space. "The genetic changes are accelerating," he told Dr. Grace Kim during their weekly conference call. "Each generation shows more significant adaptations than the last." Grace nodded from her laboratory on the research planet Kepler 186f. "I'm seeing the same thing here, but it's not just physical adaptation, Tom. The cognitive changes are even more remarkable." She pulled up brain scan data on her screen. "Human neural pathways are developing in ways that let us process information from multiple alien cognitive systems simultaneously. We're becoming living bridges between different ways of thinking." This was Tom's great discovery, one that he hadn't yet shared with his alien colleagues. Human brains, shaped by Earth's chaotic and dangerous evolution, were uniquely flexible. Unlike other species that had evolved in stable environments with consistent rules, humans could adapt their thinking patterns to match alien logic systems. "Show me the latest results from the problem-solving tests," Tom said. Grace switched screens. "We gave the same engineering challenges to mixed groups of aliens and humans. When aliens worked alone, they followed their species' traditional approaches, but when humans were added to the groups, the solutions improved dramatically." The data was clear. Human participants weren't just contributing their own ideas. They were helping alien team members think in new ways. They served as cognitive translators, helping Nexari rigid thinking work with Vorthak traditional approaches, or combining Aldorian empathy with Xanthari efficiency. "The aliens don't realize what's happening," Grace continued. "They think we're just lucky. But we're actually becoming something unprecedented, a species that can understand and integrate multiple forms of intelligence." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, human communities were connecting through an increasingly sophisticated network. What had started as simple communication between refugee settlements had evolved into something approaching a distributed civilization. Captain Alex Chen commanded one of the newer human vessels, built using hybrid technologies that no single alien species could have created. His ship, the Rising Phoenix, incorporated Nexari precision engineering, Vorthak power systems, Aldorian efficiency protocols, and Xanthari durability, all integrated through uniquely human problem-solving approaches. Incoming transmission from the scattered network, announced his communications officer, Maya Singh. Alex nodded. The scattered network was what humans called their informal but growing civilization. Unlike traditional galactic societies centered on homeworlds, the network was based on shared knowledge and mutual support across hundreds of scattered communities. "This is Node 7 reporting," came a voice from the speakers. "We've successfully completed the atmospheric conversion on Dead Rock 3. The planet should be habitable within 10 years. Alex smiled. Dead Rock 3 had been written off by every major species as impossible to terraform. But humans had been quietly working on projects that others considered hopeless, using techniques learned from their scattered survival experiences. Confirmed, Node 7. Add Dead Rock 3 to the reclamation list. Any other updates? Node. 12 reports breakthrough in quantum processing using combined Nexari-Vorthak mathematics. Node 15 has successful crop yields using hybrid agricultural techniques. And Node 23? The voice paused. Node 23 has some interesting news about Earth. Alex felt his heart skip. Earth had been dead for 50 years. The Genesis protocol that Dr. Marcus had activated was considered a failure by most humans who even remembered it. What kind of news? Long-range sensors are detecting unusual energy patterns in the Sol system. It might be nothing, but the quantum signatures match theoretical models from the old Genesis research. The bridge fell silent. Earth was more than humanity's dead homeworld. It was their symbol of failure, their reminder of what they had lost. But if the Genesis protocol was actually working, keep monitoring, Alex said finally, and keep it quiet for now. The conversation moved on to other topics, but Alex's mind remained focused on Earth. 50 years was nothing in geological terms, but the Genesis protocol had been designed to work with quantum time acceleration. If it was actually functioning, the results could be visible much sooner than anyone had expected. Back on Titan 7, Lisa Park was dealing with a different kind of revelation. The Nexari supervisors had called in specialists to study how humans could survive in the toxic atmosphere. The results were making them very uncomfortable. "Your species shows adaptation rates that are theoretically impossible," Dr. Nexval told her during the interview. "Most evolutionary changes take thousands of generations. You're showing significant modifications in just 2 or 3 generations." Lisa shrugged. "Humans have always been good at adapting quickly. It's how we survived Earth." "But Earth was stable compared to the conditions you're thriving in now," the scientist protested. "The radiation here is intense. The atmospheric composition is toxic. The gravity is wrong. Yet your children show no signs of stress." "Maybe your definitions of impossible need updating," Lisa suggested mildly. The Nexari scientist made frustrated, clicking sounds. This was the problem with studying humans. They treated impossible things as normal, and normal things as obstacles to overcome. What Dr. Nexval didn't understand was that humans had been sharing adaptation strategies across their network for decades. Beneficial mutations were documented, studied, and encouraged. Medical techniques developed on one world were shared with settlements facing similar challenges. The scattered human communities were functioning as a single, galaxy-spanning evolutionary experiment. Dr. Tom Bradley finally decided to share his findings with the broader scientific community. He submitted his research to the Galactic Journal of Xenobiology, the most prestigious scientific publication in known space. The response was immediate and dismissive. "Rejected," announced the journal's Vorthak editor during their video call. "Your conclusions are clearly biased by your species' limitations. No sapient species can adapt at the rates you claim to document." "The data is solid," Tom protested. "I have 50 years of documentation from over 200 human communities. Anecdotal evidence from a failed species," the editor replied coldly. "Perhaps you should focus your research on more realistic topics." Tom ended the call and stared at his data for a long time. The alien scientific community wasn't ready to accept what humans were becoming. They were trapped by their own assumptions about what was possible. But humans had never cared much about other people's assumptions. Dr. Grace Kim made her own breakthrough a few months later. While studying alien disease patterns, she discovered something that made her blood run cold. A plague was spreading through several alien populations, a mutated virus that attacked neural tissue in ways that seemed designed to exploit the specific biological weaknesses of different species. The disease was particularly deadly because it adapted to each species differently. What killed Nexari through neural overload would destroy Vorthak by shutting down their ancient memory centers. Eldorians died from empathy cascade failures, while Xanthari suffered complete hive mind disconnection. But when Grace tested human blood samples against the virus, she found something remarkable. Human immune. 100 years after Earth's fall, the galaxy was burning. The ancient Vorthak Empire, which had ruled over half the known systems for 10,000 years, was crumbling. Rebellions erupted on dozens of worlds. Trade routes collapsed under the weight of piracy and war. The careful balance that had kept galactic peace for millennia was falling apart. In the Great Council chambers on Vorthak Prime, Elder Kulmesh stared at the holographic displays showing defeat after defeat. His scaled hands trembled with age and fury as he watched yet another system declare independence from the Empire. How? He growled at his generals. How are these primitive worlds defeating our fleets? General Vargoth, a younger Vorthak with battle scars covering his massive frame, shifted uncomfortably. They are not fighting like proper civilizations, Elder. They use tactics that make no sense. They strike where we are strongest and run when we expect them to stand and fight. Cowardice, spat another general. No, Vargoth replied slowly. Something else. Something we do not understand. What the Vorthak didn't know was that many of the rebel worlds had human advisors. Over the past century, humans had quietly established themselves as the galaxy's most effective mercenaries and tactical consultants. They didn't fight like any other species because they had learned to fight like survivors. On the mining world of Kepler 442b, now transformed into a major industrial hub, Director Kate Williams reviewed the latest reports from across human space. At 60 years old, she commanded respect throughout the scattered network. The former mining colony had become one of humanity's most important centers of production. The Nexari are requesting military advisors for their border conflicts, reported her aide, David Kim. They're offering standard mercenary rates. Kate smiled. Standard rates were 10 times what humans had been paid as laborers 50 years ago. Accept the contract. Send Team 7. They have experience with Nexari thinking patterns. The truth was humans had become invaluable to every major power in the galaxy. Their ability to understand and adapt to different species' military doctrines made them perfect advisors. More importantly, their experience as scattered survivors had taught them guerrilla tactics that no traditional military could counter. But Kate's real attention was focused on a different report, one that only the highest levels of the scattered network were allowed to see. Any updates from the Sol expedition? She asked quietly. David's expression grew serious. Long-range scouts confirm the energy readings. Earth is definitely showing signs of atmospheric recovery. The quantum storms have stabilized and preliminary scans suggest the beginnings of a new ecosystem. Kate felt a chill run down her spine. The Genesis protocol had been working all along, slowly rebuilding Earth from the quantum level up. After a century of careful reconstruction, their homeworld might actually be coming back to life. How long before it's habitable? Dr. Morgan's team estimates another 50 years for basic atmosphere stability, maybe 25 if the quantum acceleration continues at current rates. The implications were staggering. A reborn Earth would give humanity something no scattered species had ever possessed. A true homeworld with all the political and economic advantages that came with it. But more than that, it would prove that humans could accomplish the impossible. Meanwhile, on the research station Orbital 9, Dr. Ben Shaw was making discoveries that would reshape galactic understanding of warfare and biology. At 90 years old, he was one of the last humans who remembered Earth before its fall. His current research focused on something much more immediate than Earth's recovery: Grace, you need to see this analysis, he transmitted to Dr. Grace Kim, now the galaxy's leading expert on cross-species medicine. Grace's elderly face appeared on his screen. What have you found, Ben? I've been studying the tactical reports from all major conflicts over the past 50 years. There's a pattern that the alien military analysts are missing completely. Ben pulled up a complex tactical display. Look at the Battle of Nexari 7. The rebels should have been crushed. They were outnumbered 5-1, but they won decisively. Here's why. The display highlighted movement patterns and tactical decisions. The Nexari approach warfare hierarchically. Commands flow from top to bottom. Responses follow established protocols. But the rebels, advised by human tacticians, use distributed command structures and improvise constantly. Adaptive chaos versus rigid order, Grace observed. Exactly, and it's happening everywhere. The Xanthari Hive fleet was defeated at Gamma Draconis by tactics that deliberately disrupted their collective decision-making process. The Aldorian Defense Force lost 3 systems because their empathic combat doctrine was turned against them by advisors who understood their psychological weaknesses. Grace leaned forward, understanding dawning in her eyes. Ben, are you saying that humans have been deliberately studying and exploiting the military weaknesses of every major species? Not deliberately, Ben replied. At least not at first. But 50 years of serving as military advisors has given us complete intelligence on how every species in the galaxy fights. We know their strengths, their weaknesses, their blind spots, and their fears. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication from the Scattered Network's Central Command. Admiral Hayes, one of humanity's most respected military leaders, appeared on their screens with grim news. All network commanders, priority alert. The Vorthak Empire has just declared emergency mobilization. They're activating ancient war protocols that haven't been used in 5,000 years. Ben felt a chill of recognition. The Deep Arsenal protocols? Confirmed. Intelligence suggests they're preparing to deploy world-killer weapons against any system that continues to resist their authority. Grace gasped. World killers were weapons of such devastating power that their very existence was considered a carefully guarded secret. The Vorthak had used them once before during their rise to galactic dominance to destroy entire civilizations that refused to surrender. How many rebel systems are at risk? Ben asked. 37 confirmed targets, Hayes replied, including several with significant human populations. Ben and Grace exchanged glances. This was the moment they had all been preparing for without quite realizing it. The Scattered Network had spent a century learning about alien technologies, alien tactics, and alien weaknesses. Now that knowledge would be put to the ultimate test. Admiral, Ben said slowly, I think it's time to implement the final protocol. Hayes nodded grimly. The final protocol was humanity's ultimate contingency plan, a coordinated revelation of their true capabilities that would either secure their place in the galaxy or mark them for complete extinction. All network nodes are standing by, Hayes confirmed. Are your research findings ready for distribution? More than ready, Grace replied. Ben and I have been preparing this data for decades. Every major species' biological, psychological, and tactical vulnerabilities. Complete analysis of their technologies and how to counter them, and, she paused, the cure for the neural plague that's been spreading through alien populations. Hayes raised an eyebrow. You found a cure? We found something better, Benny said. Human immune systems have developed universal resistance to all known variants of the plague. We can not only cure it, we can prevent it from ever occurring again. The irony wasn't lost on any of them. The species that had been dismissed as failed refugees now held the keys to galactic survival. But would the galaxy accept help from humanity? Or would they see human capabilities as a threat to be eliminated? There's more, Hayes continued. Our deep space monitoring stations have detected unusual quantum signatures from the Sol system. Dr. Marcus's old Genesis protocol appears to be reaching completion phase. Ben's hands trembled slightly. Earth is coming back? Preliminary scans suggest a planet that's not just habitable, but transformed. The quantum reconstruction process has created ecosystems that are more stable and diverse than anything in recorded galactic history. Earth isn't just returning. It's returning as something unprecedented. The implications hit all three of them simultaneously. A reborn Earth, combined with humanity's accumulated knowledge and capabilities, would make them a major galactic power overnight. But it would also make them the largest threat that existing powers had ever faced. The Vorthak won't wait for us to become stronger, Grace said quietly. If they realize what we're becoming, they'll try to destroy us completely, Hayes finished, which is why we need to act first. Ben looked at the tactical displays showing Vorthak fleets moving toward their targets. Ancient weapons were being readied for deployment. Entire worlds were about to be sterilized in the name of maintaining galactic order. How long do we have, he asked. 72 hours before the first world killer deployment, Hayes replied. After that, the galaxy will never be the same. Ben made his decision. Send the signal to all network nodes. Activate the final protocol. It's time the galaxy learned what humans really are. As the transmission went out, carried by quantum relays, to human communities across hundreds of worlds, Ben couldn't help but remember Ambassador Elena's final words from a century ago. The human species is not ending today. We are beginning something new. She had been more right than anyone could have imagined. The galaxy was about to discover that the scattered refugees they had ignored for a century had become something unprecedented, a species that understood everyone else better than they understood themselves. The rising storm was about to break, and when it did, nothing would ever be the same. The galaxy held its breath as the first Vorthak world killer weapon powered up above the rebel world of Kepler 438c. The massive ship, built from ancient designs that predated most galactic civilizations, cast a dark shadow across the planet's surface. 3 million inhabitants waited below, Nexari colonists, Aldorian refugees, and 10,000 humans who had made the world their home. Elder Kulmesh himself commanded the flagship Eternal Dominion. At 12,000 years old, he had personally overseen the last deployment of world killer weapons during the Vorthak rise to power. Today would remind the galaxy why his people had ruled for so long. Begin planetary sterilization sequence, he commanded, his ancient voice carrying across the bridge. But as the weapon systems charged, something impossible happened. Every screen on the Vorthak ship went dark for exactly 3 seconds. When they flickered back to life, a new image appeared. The face of Admiral Hayes speaking from the bridge of a human vessel. Elder Kulmesh, Hayes said calmly, I suggest you reconsider your course of action. Kulmesh's scaled features twisted in rage. How dare you interrupt a Vorthak military operation? Your pathetic species has no authority here. Actually, Hayes, replied. We do. Check your tactical displays. Kulmesh turned to his tactical officer, who was staring at his screens in shock. Elder, there are ships everywhere. Hundreds of them. They weren't there 30 seconds ago. The view screen shifted to show the space around Kepler 438c. Vorthak sensors had detected nothing, but now human vessels seemed to materialize from empty space. Ships of designs that no alien species recognized, using stealth technologies that shouldn't exist. Impossible, Kulmesh breathed. No species has cloaking capabilities that advanced. Hayes smiled coldly. No single species does. But humans learned from everyone. Nexari precision engineering, Vorthak power systems, Aldorian efficiency protocols, Zenthari durability, and quantum stealth principles that we developed ourselves. We've spent a century building ships that your sensors can't detect. The truth was even more remarkable. Human engineers had taken the best technologies from every alien species they had encountered and integrated them in ways that their original creators never imagined possible. The result was a fleet that was invisible to traditional detection methods and more advanced than anything in known space. You have 3 minutes to power down your weapons and withdraw, Hayes continued. After that, we will demonstrate why underestimating humans was the galaxy's greatest mistake. Kulmesh's anger overrode his caution. You threaten the Vorthak Empire with your mongrel fleet? We have ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. Our weapons can crack planets. And we know exactly how they work, Hayes replied. Dr. Benshaw, please explain to the Elder what we've learned about Vorthak world killer technology. Ben's elderly face appeared on another part of the screen. Hello, Elder Kulmesh. I've spent 50 years studying your weapon systems. Would you like to know their primary weakness? There are no weaknesses, Kulmesh roared. The quantum cascade initiators require precise harmonic frequencies to maintain stability, Ben said matter-of-factly. Disrupt those frequencies by exactly 0.03%, and the weapons overload catastrophically. We've been broadcasting the disruption frequency for the past 2 minutes. Kulmesh spun toward his weapons officer. Status report. Cascade initiators are showing instability, Elder. Power levels are fluctuating beyond safe parameters. Shut down the weapon. I'm trying, but the harmonic disruption is preventing safe shutdown. The weapon is building toward critical overload. Hayes's voice cut through the chaos. You have 90 seconds to evacuate your crew to the escape pods before your own weapon destroys your ship. Consider this a demonstration of what happens when you threaten human settlements. What followed was the most humiliating retreat in Vorthak history. The mighty Eternal Dominion, flagship of their ancient fleet, had to be abandoned as its own world-killer weapon tore itself apart from the inside. Elder Kulmesh himself barely escaped in an emergency pod, watching his greatest weapon destroy itself due to human interference. But the demonstration at Kepler 438c was only the beginning. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out as human. Fleets revealed themselves at every world targeted for destruction. The scattered network, built over a century of quiet preparation, activated with devastating effectiveness. On the former mining world that Kate Williams now governed, production, facilities that aliens thought were simple industrial complexes revealed their true purpose. Weapons, ships, and technologies that incorporated the best of every galactic civilization poured out in numbers that defied belief. How many ships do we have? Asked David Kim as he watched the production reports. More than anyone knows. Kate replied. We've been building them for 50 years, using asteroid facilities that don't appear on any galactic charts. Every failed mining operation, every abandoned colony site, every place the galaxy forgot about humans, we turned them into hidden shipyards. The revelation sent shockwaves through every major government. The species they had dismissed as failed refugees had been quietly building the largest fleet in galactic history, using resources and locations that others had written off as worthless. But the greatest shock was yet to come. Dr. Grace Kim stood before the Emergency Galactic Assembly, the first human to address the full council in over a century. The great hall was packed with representatives from every major species, all demanding answers about humanity's sudden revelation of power. You have deceived us for generations, accused Counselor Nexara, her blue skin flushed with anger. You pretended to be refugees while secretly building weapons. Grace's response was calm and measured. We built those weapons because we knew this day would come. We knew that eventually someone would try to use galaxy-killing weapons against innocent worlds. We prepared to stop that from happening. You had no right. Elder Kulmesh, now stripped of his military command, struggled to his feet. The Vorthak Empire maintains order through strength. Without proper authority, the galaxy descends into chaos. Your authority, Grace replied, was built on fear and the threat of planetary destruction. We're offering something different. She activated a holographic display that showed medical data from across the galaxy. The neural plague that has been killing thousands across multiple species. We have the cure, not just treatment, but complete immunity for all affected populations. The assembly fell silent. The plague had been spreading for months, defying every attempt at containment. Multiple species faced potential extinction if it couldn't be stopped. Human immune systems, Grace continued, developed resistance through our exposure to environments. From dozens of different worlds, we can synthesize a universal vaccine that will protect everyone. In exchange for what? Asked Aldorian Representative Timko suspiciously. Nothing, Grace said simply. We're giving it away freely to anyone who needs it. The silence stretched longer. This wasn't how galactic politics worked. Species didn't give away advantages without demanding something in return. Grace activated another display. But there's something else you need to know. Earth is coming back. The hologram showed recent images from the Sol system. Where Earth had once died in fire and poison, a new world was emerging. Blue oceans sparkled under a clean atmosphere. Green continents stretched beneath white clouds. It was more beautiful than Earth had ever been, transformed by the Genesis protocol into something that surpassed its original glory. The quantum reconstruction process is nearly complete, Grace explained. Within 20 years, Earth will be fully habitable again. But it won't be the same world that died a century ago. It will be better, more stable, more diverse, more capable of supporting life than any planet in known space. The implications hit the assembly like a physical blow. A reborn Earth, combined with humanity's revealed technological capabilities and strategic knowledge, would make them the dominant power in the galaxy almost overnight. "You're threatening us," Nexara said quietly. "No," Grace replied. "We're offering you a choice. The old way of doing things, empires built on fear, order, maintained through the threat of destruction, that led to what we just prevented. World-killer weapons pointed at innocent populations." She gestured to the assembled representatives. "We know all of your weaknesses. We understand your technologies better than you do. We can defeat any fleet, cure any plague, and terraform any world. We could conquer the galaxy if we wanted to." The hall was dead silent now. "But we don't want to conquer anything. We want to build something better, a galaxy where species work together instead of threatening each other, where knowledge is shared instead of hoarded, where no one has to fear planetary destruction because they disagree with the established order." Admiral Hayes's voice came over the communication system. "The choice is yours. Continue the old ways and face the consequences of threatening human settlements, or work with us to build something that serves everyone." Elder Kulmesh struggled to speak. What happens to the Vorthak Empire?" "The same thing that happens to every empire that relies on fear instead of cooperation," Grace replied sadly. "It ends. But the Vorthak people don't have to end with it. You can be part of what comes next." Over the following months, the galaxy slowly came to terms with its new reality. The human scattered network became the foundation for a new kind of galactic civilization, one based on cooperation rather than domination, knowledge sharing rather than secrecy, and mutual support rather than fear. The neural plague was eradicated within a year using human-developed vaccines. Struggling worlds received terraforming assistance using technologies that combined the best discoveries of multiple species. Trade routes that had been disrupted by war were restored and improved. And on Earth, now beautiful beyond anything in its previous history, humanity began building not just a homeworld, but a symbol of what was possible when a species refused to accept that failure was final. Ambassador Lisa Chen, great-granddaughter of the Elena who had sent humanity's last desperate message, stood in the restored United Nations building and looked out at the blue skies and green forests of the reborn Earth. "They finally understand," she said to her aide. "The galaxy finally understands why we survived Earth's fall." "Because we're stronger than they thought?" the aide asked. Lisa shook her head. "Because we learned something they never had to learn. We learned that the greatest strength doesn't come from never falling down. It comes from getting back up every time you do." The galaxy had learned its lesson, and humanity had taught it, that sometimes the greatest victories come not from never losing, but from refusing to stay defeated. Now they all understood why no species had ever done what humanity did, not because they couldn't, but because they had never needed to learn how. The warning alarm cut through the quiet hum of the monitoring station like a knife. Officer Vell looked up from his data pad, his blue skin turning pale as he read the display. Something big was moving through the neutral zone. "Captain Rex," Vell called out, his voice shaking slightly. "We have a problem." Captain Rex walked over to the main screen, his heavy boots making sharp sounds on the metal floor. He was a large man with gray hair and scars on his hands from many battles. Rex had been watching the borders of Council space for 15 years. He knew trouble when he saw it. "What is it?" Rex asked, looking at the red dot on the screen. "Unknown ship, sir. It appeared on our sensors 10 minutes ago. No transponder signal. No response to our calls." Bell's fingers moved quickly over his console. "The ship is, strange, sir." Rex watched the dot move across the screen. It didn't fly like normal ships. Normal ships moved in straight lines from point A to point B. This ship curved and twisted, sometimes stopping for no reason, then moving fast in a new direction. "How big?" Rex asked. "Large, sir. Maybe a colony ship or heavy freighter. But the energy readings are all wrong. The ship should be dead with those power levels, but it's still moving." Rex felt something cold in his stomach. In his 15 years of patrol duty, he had learned to trust that feeling. It had kept him alive through pirate attacks and space storms. "Send a message to Council Command," Rex ordered. "Tell them we're investigating. Prep the boarding shuttle. I want a full security team." "Sir, maybe we should wait for backup," Vel said quietly. Rex looked at the alien officer. Vel was young and still believed the galaxy was a safe place. Rex knew better. The galaxy was full of dark corners where bad things happened to good people. "No time," Rex said. "If that ship has people on it, they might need help. If it's hostile, we need to know now." 2 hours later, Rex sat in the boarding shuttle with 5 security officers. The pilot, a woman named Kate, flew them toward the strange ship. Through the front window, Rex could see their target. The ship was huge and covered in scars. Burns from energy weapons marked its hull like old wounds. Parts of the ship looked like they had been rebuilt with different materials. Some sections were darker than others, as if they had been added later. "It's a human ship," said Officer Mike, looking at his scanner. "Old design, maybe 40 years old, but the modifications, I've never seen anything like this." Rex studied the ship through binoculars. The human ship looked like it had been through hell and survived. But survived into what? "No response to our calls, sir," Kate reported. "The ship isn't trying to run or fight. It's just waiting." "Waiting for what?" Rex muttered. The shuttle moved closer to the human ship's docking bay. Kate was a good pilot, but even she seemed nervous as they approached. The docking bay was dark. No lights, no guide beams, no signs of life. "Looks abandoned," Mike said. Rex shook his head. "Nothing's abandoned out here. Something's keeping that ship moving." They docked with a soft thud. Rex checked his weapon and breathing gear. The other officers did the same. "In space, you always expected the worst. Remember," Rex told his team. "We don't know what we're walking into. Stay together. Watch each other's backs. If something feels wrong, speak up." The airlock opened with a hiss. The corridor beyond was dark except for a few emergency lights. The air smelled wrong. Not bad, just different. Like metal and old electronics, and something else Rex couldn't identify. They moved into the ship in formation. Rex led with Mike and 2 other officers behind him. Kate stayed with the shuttle in case they needed to leave quickly. The corridors were wider than normal ship corridors, but parts of the walls had been rebuilt. Cables and pipes ran along the ceiling in patterns that didn't match any ship design Rex knew. Some areas were so dark their lights couldn't reach the end. "Power's on minimal," Mike reported, checking his scanner. "Life support is working, but barely. Temperature is cold, really cold." They found the first sign of life 20 meters into the ship. Or rather, signs of life. Food wrappers, empty water containers, and tools scattered around. But everything looked old, used many times. "Someone's been living here," Rex said quietly. "But where are they?" They kept moving deeper into the ship. Each corridor led to more corridors. Each room they checked was empty but showed signs of use. Beds with thin blankets, work areas with strange tools, storage rooms with supplies Rex didn't recognize. "Sir," one of the officers called out. "Look at this." Rex walked over to where Officer Tom was standing. On the wall was a piece of paper with writing on it. The words were in basic human script, but the message was strange. "The deep teaches us. The deep keeps us. The deep makes us strong. Speak soft or don't speak at all. Loud things die first. What does that mean? Tom asked. Rex didn't answer. He was starting to understand that they weren't on an abandoned ship. They were on a ship where people had learned to live differently. They found more messages as they explored. Some were scratched into the metal walls. Others were written on scraps of paper and cloth. All of them talked about silence, about the deep, about learning to survive in the dark. Children of the void fear nothing. We are the space between stars. Silence is our weapon. As they moved deeper into the ship, Rex noticed something that made his skin crawl. They were being followed. Not by sounds or voices, but by the feeling of being watched. Sometimes he caught movement in his peripheral vision, but when he turned to look, nothing was there. "Sir," Mike whispered. "My scanner is picking up movement, but I can't see anything." "Mine too," Tom added. "It's like there are people moving, parallel to us, but in the walls or something." Rex stopped the team. In the quiet, he could hear the ship around them. But it wasn't just the normal sounds of engines and life support. There were other sounds. Soft scraping, quiet tapping, like coded messages being sent through the ship's structure. "They know we're here," Rex said quietly. "Who?" Mike asked. "Whoever lives on this ship. They're watching us, learning about us." The team kept moving, but now they all felt it. Eyes in the darkness. Shadows that moved when they shouldn't. The sense that they were not exploring the ship. The ship was exploring them. They reached what looked like a main corridor. It was wider than the others and led toward the ship's center. Emergency lights created pools of dim red light every few meters, leaving most of the corridor in darkness. "Motion sensors are going crazy," Mike reported. "But I still can't see anyone." That's when Rex heard it. A sound so quiet he almost missed it. Breathing. Not one person, but several people, breathing in perfect rhythm. It was coming from all around them. "Hello," Rex called out, his voice echoing in the corridor. "We're from the Galactic Council. We're here to help." The breathing stopped. The silence that followed was complete and terrifying. Not even the ship's engines made noise. It was as if the entire vessel was holding its breath, waiting. Then, from somewhere in the darkness ahead came a voice. It was human, female, and young. But it carried in the silence like it was designed for these corridors. "Help?" the voice said. "We don't need help. We are help. We are what happens when help doesn't come." Rex felt every muscle in his body tense. This wasn't a rescue mission anymore. This was something else entirely. "We are the children who learned to live where life shouldn't exist," the voice continued. "We are the generation that fear sits in silence. And you are very loud." In the darkness ahead, Rex could see shapes moving. Human shapes, but wrong somehow. They moved too smoothly, too quietly, like they were part of the ship itself. "We've been waiting for visitors," the voice said. "It's been so long since we had guests. Come deeper. Come see what we've become." Rex looked at his team. They were all scared, but they were good officers. They would follow him wherever he decided to go. The question was, were they walking into a rescue operation, or were they walking into a trap set by something that used to be human? In the darkness ahead, the shapes continued to move, and Rex realized they had no choice but to find out. Rex made his decision. "We go forward," he whispered to his team. "But stay alert. Something's not right here." The shapes in the darkness didn't move closer, but they didn't disappear either. They stayed just at the edge of the light, watching. Rex could feel their eyes on him as his team moved deeper into the ship. The corridor opened into a large room that might have been a cargo bay once. Now it looked like something between a workshop and a living space. Strange devices hung from the ceiling. Screens showed star maps and ship schematics, but everything was modified, changed, made into something new. "Welcome to our home," the voice said again. A figure stepped into the light. Rex's breath caught in his throat. It was a young woman, maybe 25 years old, but she looked wrong. Her skin was pale, almost white. Her hair was long and colorless. Her eyes were large and seemed to glow slightly in the dim light. She wore clothes made from ship materials, metal fabric and recycled plastics. Her feet were bare, and Rex noticed her toes were longer than normal, almost like fingers. "My name is Kira," she said. "I speak for the family." "Family?" Rex asked. More figures moved into the light. Men and women, all young, all with the same pale skin and strange eyes. Some were clearly adults, others looked like teenagers. All of them moved with the same smooth, quiet grace. "We are all family here," Kira said. "We had to become family to survive." Mike raised his scanner toward the group. "Sir, I'm reading 37 life signs on this ship. All human, but the readings are strange." "Strange how?" Rex asked, not taking his eyes off Kira. "Lower body temperature, slower heart rates. It's like they're in some kind of hibernation state, but they're awake and moving." Kira smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. "We learned to use less. Less air, less food, less heat, less energy. The ship taught us." "What ship is this?" Rex asked. "How long have you been out here?" Kira's expression changed. For a moment she looked sad. "This is the Wanderer. We've been out here for 25 years. Rex felt his stomach drop. 25 years was a long time to be lost in space. "Are you the original crew?" "Some of us," Kira said. "I was 8 when we got lost. Most of us were children then, the adults. They didn't adapt as well." She gestured to the walls around them. Rex looked closer and saw what he had missed before. Names were carved into the metal, hundreds of names with dates next to them. "The adults tried to fix the ship," Kira continued. "They tried to send distress signals. They tried to find their way home. But space is big, and we were alone. One by one, they gave up. They died of sadness, of sickness, of broken hearts." Rex read some of the names on the wall. All the dates were from 15 to 20 years ago. "All of them?" "All of them," Kira confirmed. "But we didn't give up. We couldn't. We were children. We didn't know giving up was an option." Another figure stepped forward. This one was male, maybe 30 years old. Like Kira, he had the same pale skin and strange eyes. "I'm Ben," he said. "I was 12 when the ship broke. I watched my parents die. I watched everyone's parents die. But the ship kept us alive." "How?" Rex asked. Ben smiled. "We learned to listen. The ship talks to you if you know how to hear it. It tells you where the problems are, where the food is, where the danger is." The adults were too loud to hear it. Rex was starting to understand. These people hadn't just survived on a broken ship. They had become part of it. "The ship's computer has records," Mike said, checking his device. "The Wanderer was a colony ship heading for the Kepler system. They had engine failure 25 years ago. There were 847 people on board." 847, Kira repeated. "Now there are 37. We are what's left. We are what grew from what was left." Rex looked around the room again. Everything he saw was modified, changed, improved. These people hadn't just survived. They had evolved. "The first years were hard," Ben said. "We were just children trying to keep a huge ship running. We made mistakes. We lost people. But we learned." "What did you learn?" Rex asked. "We learned that noise brings danger," Kira said. "We learned that the dark is safer than the light. We learned that if you move quietly and watch carefully, you can survive anything." A younger voice spoke from the shadows. "We learned that the empty space between stars isn't empty at all." A boy stepped into the light. He couldn't be more than 16, but he moved with the same quiet confidence as the adults. "This is Tom," Kira said. "He was born on the ship. He's never seen a planet." Rex stared at the boy. Tom's skin was even paler than the others. His eyes were larger, adapted for the dim light of the ship. His fingers were long and thin, perfect for working in small spaces. "I've never breathed real air," Tom said proudly. "I've never felt gravity stronger than what the ship gives us. The spaces between stars are my home." "Show them," Ben said quietly. Tom nodded and walked to the wall. He placed his hands on the metal surface and closed his eyes. After a moment, he began to move his fingers in a pattern. Rex realized he was tapping on the wall, but the taps were making sounds throughout the entire ship. "He's talking to the ship," Kira explained. "The hull carries vibrations. We can send messages anywhere on the ship this way. It's faster than the communication system, and it doesn't use power." Tom opened his eyes and smiled. "The engine section says hello. So do the people in the gardens, and the watchers in the outer sections." "Watchers?" Rex asked. "We always have people watching the outside," Ben explained. "Looking for danger, looking for opportunities. We've learned that everything that moves in space can be useful if you know how to catch it." Rex felt a chill. "What kind of things do you catch?" Kira's smile became cold. "Pirates mostly. Slavers. People who hurt others. People who think they can take things from the weak." "What do you do with them?" Rex asked, though he was afraid of the answer. "We make them useful," Tom said simply. "Their ships become parts for our ship. Their supplies become our supplies. They become part of the ship too." Rex realized what he was hearing. These people weren't just survivors. They were predators. "You're pirates," Mike said, his hand moving toward his weapon. "No," Kira said firmly. "Pirates take from the innocent. We take from those who take from others. We are balance. We are what happens when children learn that adults can't protect them." Ben moved closer. Rex noticed that all the humans in the room had shifted positions slightly. They were surrounding Rex's team, but they did it so smoothly that it looked natural. "For 20 years we've been cleaning up the dark corners of space," Ben said. "Every slaver who thought they could hide in the deep. Every pirate who thought the empty areas were safe. Every criminal who ran to where they thought no law could reach them. They all learned the same lesson." "Which is?" Rex asked. "The deep isn't empty," Kira said. "It's full of children who grew up without fear. Children who learned that the galaxy is not safe and decided to make themselves the most dangerous thing in it." Tom walked over to a control panel and touched it. The lights in the room dimmed, and images appeared on the screens around them. Ships, dozens of different ships, all destroyed or captured. "These are the ones who thought they could hide in our space," Tom said. "They were wrong." Rex looked at the images. Some of the ships he recognized. Pirate vessels that had been reported missing, slaver ships that had vanished without a trace. All destroyed by these strange humans who had grown up in the dark. "We've been watching you since you entered our territory," Kira said. "Your ship, your crew, your intentions. You're not pirates or slavers. You're trying to help people. That's unusual." "We're council peacekeepers," Rex said. "It's our job to help." "Help." Kira repeated the word like it was foreign. "We remember help. Adults used to promise help was coming. Rescue ships were coming. The council was coming. Help never came." "We're here now," Rex said. Kira looked at him for a long moment. "Yes, you are. The question is, what do we do with you?" The room fell silent. Rex could feel the weight of 37 pairs of eyes on him and his team. These people had survived 25 years in the void. They had become something new, something dangerous. And now they had to decide whether Rex and his team were friends or threats. In the silence, Rex could hear the ship around them. But now he understood what he was hearing. It wasn't just machines. It was the sound of a living thing breathing quietly in the dark between stars. The Wanderer wasn't just a ship anymore. It was a creature. And these humans weren't just its crew. They were its children. The silence stretched for what felt like hours. Rex could feel his heart beating loud in his chest. Around him, his team waited for his signal. The pale humans watched them with those strange, glowing eyes. Finally, Kira spoke. "You carry weapons." It wasn't a question. Rex looked down at his sidearm. "Standard equipment. We don't know what we might find out here." "Fear," Ben said simply. "You carry weapons because you're afraid." "Smart people are afraid sometimes," Rex replied. "Fear keeps you alive?" Tom laughed. It was a quiet sound like wind through metal. We were afraid once. When we were small and the adults were dying, when the food ran low and the air recyclers broke, when we didn't know if tomorrow would come. What changed? Mike asked. We realized fear was useless, Kira said. Fear doesn't fix broken engines. Fear doesn't find food in empty storage rooms. Fear doesn't keep you warm when the heat fails. She walked closer to Rex. He noticed she didn't make any sound when she moved, even on the metal floor. So we stopped being afraid, she continued. We started being something else. What? Rex asked. We became the thing others should fear. Another human stepped out of the shadows. This one was older, maybe 40. Unlike the others, he had scars on his face and arms. Deep ones. This is David, Kira said. He remembers the old world better than most of us. David nodded at Rex. I was 15 when we got lost. Old enough to remember Earth. Old enough to remember thinking the galaxy was a safe place for humans. It's not? Rex asked. David's laugh was bitter. Look around you, Councilman. You patrol the safe spaces, the trade routes, the colony worlds. But out here, in the deep, humans are prey. We're soft. We're slow. We're loud. Every other species in the galaxy knows it. That's not true, Mike protested. Isn't it? Ben asked. How many human ships go missing every year? How many colonies get raided? How many humans get sold in slave markets? Rex didn't answer because he knew the numbers. They were bad. The galaxy taught us what we really are, David continued. Food for predators, resources to be harvested, playthings for those stronger than us. So we decided to change the lesson, Kira said. She walked to one of the screens and touched it. New images appeared. These weren't destroyed ships. These were recordings, security footage from inside ships. Rex watched in horror as pale figures moved through corridors. But these weren't the same corridors they were standing in now. This was 3 months ago, Kira explained. A slaver ship, 23 humans in cages, children mostly. On the screen, Rex watched as the pale figures moved through the ship like ghosts. They didn't run or shout or fight with weapons. They just moved, silent and deadly. The ship's lights went out section by section. The slavers tried to fight, but they were fighting shadows. You killed them all, Rex said quietly. Yes, Tom said proudly. But we saved the humans. The children are safe now. Where are they? Rex asked. Some chose to stay with us, Kira said. Others we took to safe colonies. We give them the choice we never had. The screen changed to show another ship. This one was bigger, more heavily armed. This was last month, Ben said. Pirates. They attacked a medical supply convoy. Killed the crew and took the medicine to sell on the black market. Rex watched as the same thing happened. The pale humans moved through the pirate ship like they were part of it. The pirates fought back with everything they had. Energy weapons, explosives, even poison gas. Nothing worked. How do you do it? Mike asked, his voice shaking slightly. We learned from the ship, Tom explained. How to move in zero gravity. How to use the environment as a weapon. How to fight without making noise. We learned from the dark, Kira added. How to see without light. How to hear heartbeats through metal walls. How to smell fear in recycled air. David walked over to the wall and placed his hand on it. We learned from hunger. How to go without food for weeks. How to slow our hearts to save energy. How to make our bodies use everything, waste nothing. You're not human anymore, Rex said. The room went completely silent. Rex realized he had said something dangerous. Not human. Kira's voice was very quiet, but it carried perfectly through the room. I didn't mean, Rex started. No, you're right. Ben interrupted. We're not the kind of human you know. We're not soft colony humans or safe station humans or protected council humans. We're void humans, Tom said. Deep humans. We're what humans become when they have to really survive. Kira walked back to Rex. This time he could see something, predatory in the way she moved, like a big cat stalking prey. Do you know what we learned in 25 years of fighting for our lives? She asked. Rex shook his head. We learned that humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy, but only when we stop pretending to be civilized. The lights in the room dimmed further. Rex's team moved closer together, but he could see they were completely surrounded now. The pale humans had moved without him noticing, taking positions all around the room. The other species think they know humans, David said. They think we're weak because we build peaceful colonies. They think we're slow because we make careful plans. They think we're harmless because we have laws and ethics and try to be good. But they never met humans who grew up without laws, Ben added. Humans who learned that ethics are a luxury you can't afford when you're dying. Humans who discovered that being good doesn't keep you alive. Tom was now standing near the control panel. Rex noticed that the boy's fingers were moving in patterns over the controls, but he wasn't pressing anything. He was just touching the ship. We don't just live on this ship, Tom said. We are part of it. It feels what we feel. We feel what it feels. When something threatens the ship, it threatens us. When something threatens us, it threatens the ship. Show them, Kira said. Tom pressed his palms flat against the control panel. The ship around them changed. Rex felt it in his bones. The gravity shifted slightly. The air became thinner. The temperature dropped. The ship has weapons, Tom said. But the ship is a weapon. Every system, every corridor, every room can be turned into a trap. We don't fight inside the ship. We let the ship fight for us. Rex's breathing gear started working harder. The air was getting thinner. Around him, his team was starting to look worried. But the pale humans breathed normally, like nothing had changed. Stop, Rex said. Tom looked at Kira. She nodded, and he took his hands off the controls. The ship returned to normal. That was just a taste, Kira said. We can make the air unbreathable. We can change the gravity to crush you or make you float helplessly. We can heat the metal until it burns you or freeze it until it breaks your bones. Why are you showing us this? Rex asked. Because you need to understand, David said. We're not victims anymore. We're not the weak humans hiding in the safe parts of space. We're something new. We're the humans who live in the deep, Ben added. We're the humans who hunt the hunters. We're the humans who make the monsters afraid. Kira stepped very close to Rex. He could see himself reflected in her strange pale eyes. For 25 years we've been cleaning the dark corners of the galaxy, she said. Every predator that thought humans were easy prey. Every slaver that thought we were good merchandise. Every pirate that thought our ships were treasure boxes. They all learned they were wrong. And now you know too, Tom said. The deep isn't safe anymore. Not for those who hurt humans. Because we're watching. We're waiting. And we never forget. Rex realized that these people weren't just survivors. They weren't just predators. They were something entirely new. Humans who had been forged by the void into something the galaxy had never seen before. And they were offering him a choice. What do you want from us? Rex asked. Kira smiled, and for the first time it looked almost human. We want you to take a message back to your council, she said. Tell them the empty spaces aren't empty anymore. Tell them there are humans in the deep who remember every crime, every attack, every human who disappeared. And tell them, David added, that we're coming for everyone who thought humans were prey. The room fell silent again. But this time, Rex understood the silence. It wasn't empty. It was full of promise and threat, and the patient hunger of predators who had learned to wait. Outside the ship, the void stretched endlessly in all directions. But now Rex knew it wasn't empty at all. It was full of humans who had become something else entirely, something the galaxy would have to learn to fear. Rex looked around the room at the pale faces watching him. His team was scared. He could see it in their eyes. But he was their captain. Whatever decision he made would affect all of them. You want us to carry a message, Rex said slowly. What if we refuse? Kira tilted her head like she was thinking about a difficult question. Then you don't leave. You'd kill council officers? Mike asked, his hand moving toward his weapon. Kill? Tom laughed quietly. We don't kill people who aren't hunting us. But the deep is big. Accidents happen. Ships break down. People get lost. David stepped forward. Or maybe you stay here and learn. Maybe you become part of the family. It's happened before. What do you mean? Rex asked. Ben walked to another control panel and touched it. The screen showed a different part of the ship. In it, Rex could see more people working. These ones looked different. Newer clothes, darker, skin, normal eyes. Survivors, Ben explained. People we saved from pirates and slavers. Some choose to stay. Some choose to learn our ways. They become like you? Rex asked. Some do, Kira said. The ship changes people. If you live here long enough, if you really understand what survival means, you start to change too. How? Mike asked. Tom walked over to Mike and stood very close. Too close. Mike took a step back, but Tom followed. Your body learns, Tom said. It learns to use less air, less food, less heat. Your eyes learn to see in the dark. Your ears learn to hear through metal. Your mind learns to be quiet, to move without thinking, to kill without feeling. Mike's hand was on his weapon now. Stay back. Mike, Rex warned. Don't. But Mike was scared, and scared people do stupid things. He pulled his weapon and pointed it at Tom. The room exploded into motion. Rex had been a soldier for 20 years. He had fought in 3 wars and dozens of battles. He thought he understood combat. But what happened next was unlike anything he had ever seen. The pale humans didn't run or duck or shout warnings. They simply moved. In 1 second, Mike was pointing a weapon at Tom. In the next second, Mike was on the ground, his weapon was gone, and Tom was standing over him with a smile. Rex hadn't even seen what happened. None of his team had. The movement was too fast, too smooth, too perfect. How? Rex whispered. We learn to fight in 3 dimensions, Kira explained calmly. Most people think in terms of floor and ceiling, left and right. But in space there is no up or down. There is only forward and back, close and far. Tom helped Mike to his feet and handed him back his weapon. Mike took it with shaking hands. Also, Tom added, we've been watching you since you came on board. We know how you move, how you think, how you fight. You couldn't surprise us if you tried. But we don't want to fight you, David said. Fighting is for enemies. You're not our enemies. Yet. Rex realized something important. These people weren't threatening them. They were teaching them, showing them what they could do, proving their point. What do you want us to understand? Rex asked. Kira walked to the center of the room. We want you to understand what the galaxy really is. Come. She led them out of the room and down another corridor. This one was different from the others. The walls were covered in pictures, drawings, paintings, photographs. All of them showed humans, families, children, workers, soldiers. Normal humans living normal lives. These are the people we save, Kira said. The ones we rescue from pirates, the ones we free from slave ships, the ones we protect. They walked past hundreds of pictures. Rex recognized some of the faces from missing person reports, people who had vanished and were presumed dead. They're alive? Rex asked. The ones we could save, Ben said. The ones we reached in time. They came to another section of wall. This one was covered in different pictures. Ships, space stations, even planets. But all of these pictures had red marks on them. Crosses, circles, lines through them. These are the ones we couldn't save, David said quietly. The places where we arrived too late. The ships that were already destroyed. The stations that were already empty. Rex looked at the pictures. There were thousands of them. So many, Mike whispered. The galaxy is big, Tom said. And we're only one ship, but we're learning, we're growing, and we're teaching others. Teaching what? Rex asked. Teaching them that humans don't have to be victims, Kira replied. They reached the end of the corridor. Here, there was a large window looking out into space. But this wasn't like the windows on Rex's ship. This one was huge, and the view was perfect. Rex could see stars, nebulae, and the endless dark between them. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Kira said. "It's empty," Mike replied. "No," Tom said. "It's full of possibilities, full of places to hide, full of ways to hunt, full of room to become something new." Rex stared out at the void. He was starting to understand how these people thought. To them, empty space wasn't empty. It was home. "We want to show you something else," David said. He led them to a door Rex hadn't noticed. When it opened, Rex saw that it led to another ship, a smaller one attached to the Wanderer like a parasite. This was a pirate vessel, Ben explained as they walked through it. They attacked a family transport last year, killed everyone except the children. They were planning to sell the kids. The pirate ship had been completely gutted. Everything useful had been removed and integrated into the Wanderer, but there were still signs of what had happened. Blast marks on the walls, dried blood on the floors. "What happened to the pirates?" Rex asked. "They learned what happens when you hurt children," Tom said simply. "They walked through more attached ships. Each one told a story. Slavers who had been caught with cargo holds full of prisoners. Pirates who had attacked medical supplies. Criminals who had thought the deep was safe for their crimes. This is why the galaxy fears us," Kira said. "Not because we're strong, not because we're fast, but because we remember every crime, every victim, every injustice." "And we never forgive," David added. They returned to the main ship. Rex's head was spinning with everything he had seen. These people had created something that was part home, part weapon, part memorial to human suffering. "Now do you understand?" Kira asked. "I understand that you've become vigilantes," Rex said. "We've become necessary," Ben corrected. "The Council has laws. We have procedures. We can't just hunt down criminals without trials, without evidence, without giving them a chance to escape," Tom interrupted. "Without letting them hurt more people while you fill out paperwork?" Rex started to argue, but Kira held up a hand. "Tell me, Captain Rex," she said. "How many reports of missing humans cross your desk every month?" Rex thought about it. "Too many." "How many do you find alive?" Rex's silence was answer enough. "We find them alive," Tom said. "Because we don't wait for permission. We don't follow procedures, we just go and save them. By killing their captors," Mike pointed out. "Yes," Kira said without hesitation. "By killing people who steal and sell human beings like animals. By destroying ships that attack medical convoys. By eliminating threats that your council is too slow or too scared to handle." Rex realized that he couldn't argue with their results. These people had saved hundreds of lives. They had eliminated dozens of criminal organizations. They had made the deep space safer for everyone. But the cost? "What happens to the children you save?" Rex asked. "The ones who stay here?" Kira's expression softened slightly. "They heal, they learn, they become strong. They become like you," Rex said. "They become what they need to become to survive," David replied. Tom walked over to the window and looked out at the stars. "The galaxy is changing, Captain Rex. Humans are spreading farther into space, into places where the Council can't protect them, into places where the old rules don't work. Someone has to protect them," Ben said. "Someone has to be what the galaxy forces us to be." "Monsters?" Rex asked. "If that's what it takes," Kira replied. The room fell silent. Outside the window, the stars shone cold and distant. Rex thought about all the reports on his desk, all the missing people, all the crimes that happened in the spaces between the safe worlds. Maybe these people were right. Maybe the galaxy needed monsters to fight monsters. But that didn't make it any easier to accept what they had become, or what they were asking him to become part of. Rex stood at the window for a long time, looking out at the stars. His team waited behind him, unsure what their captain was thinking. The pale humans waited too, patient as predators. Finally, Rex turned around. "I need to see more," he said. Kira raised an eyebrow. More of what? Everything. If I'm going to carry your message back to the council, I need to understand what you really are. David smiled. That's the first smart thing you've said since you came aboard. Kira led them deeper into the ship, to areas Rex hadn't seen before. They passed through sections that looked like workshops, laboratories, even small farms. The ship was completely self-sufficient. How big is this ship really? Mike asked. Big enough, Tom replied, and growing. They came to a section that made Rex stop and stare. It looked like a classroom, but unlike any classroom he had ever seen. The walls were covered with star charts, ship designs, and what looked like battle plans. Children sat at workstations, but they weren't learning normal subjects. This is where we teach the young ones, Ben explained. Rex watched as a girl who couldn't be more than 12 worked on what looked like a weapon design. Another child, maybe 10 years old, was studying the weak points of different ship hulls. What are they learning? Rex asked. How to survive, the 12-year-old girl answered without looking up. How to hunt, how to protect our family. She's Emma, Kira said. Her parents were killed by slavers 2 years ago. We found her in a cage, half dead from starvation. Emma looked up at Rex. Her eyes were still normal, not like the pale humans who had grown up on the ship. But there was something hard in them, something that hadn't been there when she was born. The slavers thought I was weak because I was small, Emma said. They learned they were wrong. How? Rex asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. Emma smiled. It was not a child's smile. I helped plan the attack that destroyed their ship. I suggested using the air vents to move through their vessel. I was the one who turned off their gravity at the right moment. Rex felt cold. This was a child talking about planning attacks like it was a game. She's learning to be strong, Tom said proudly, learning to make sure no one can hurt her again. She's learning to be a killer, Mike whispered. Emma heard him. Yes, she said simply, because killers don't get put in cages. They moved on to another section. This one was full of older teenagers, all working on different projects. Some were modifying weapons. Others were studying ship designs. A few were practicing moving silently through obstacle courses. These are the ones who choose to stay, David explained. The ones who decide that the deep is their home now. Rex watched as a boy about 16 moved through a complex maze without making any sound. His movements were perfect, fluid, like water flowing around obstacles. How long did it take him to learn that? Rex asked. 2 years, Kira replied. He was slow. Most learn faster. What happens to the ones who don't want to learn? Rex asked. We take them to safe places, Ben said. Colonies where they can have normal lives. But most choose to stay. When you've seen what the galaxy really is, it's hard to go back to pretending it's safe. They came to the heart of the ship. Rex realized this was what used to be the main colony bay. But now it was something else entirely. It was a command center, a living space, and a shrine all at once. In the center was a massive holographic display showing the entire galaxy. But this wasn't like the maps Rex knew. This one showed things that weren't on any official chart. Hidden bases, secret routes, criminal organizations. This is what we really do, Kira said. The display zoomed in on different sections. Rex could see markers for pirate bases, slaver routes, illegal mining operations. Hundreds of them. The council knows about maybe half of these, David said. And they can only act on a few of them because of politics, jurisdiction, red tape. We act on all of them, Tom added. Rex studied the display. He recognized some of the locations, places where council ships had gone missing, areas where merchant vessels avoided traveling. How do you find them all? Rex asked. We listen, Emma said. She had followed them to the command center. The criminals talk to each other. They make plans. They brag about their successes. We hear everything. How? Tom walked to a control panel and touched it. The display changed to show communication networks, thousands of lines connecting different points in space. We tap into their networks, Tom explained. We monitor their communications, we track their movements, we know what they're planning before they do it. That's illegal, Mike protested. So is slavery, Kira replied. Rex continued studying the display. He could see patterns emerging. Trade, routes that criminals used, safe houses where they hid their stolen goods, even contacts within legitimate organizations. You have people inside the council, Rex realized. We have people everywhere, David said. People who believe that protecting humans is more important than following rules. Spies, Rex said. Friends, Kira corrected. People who send us information. People who warn us when criminals are planning something big. People who make sure we get there in time to help. Rex felt like the ground was shifting under his feet. These people had built an entire shadow organization. They had intelligence networks, combat capabilities, and resources that rivaled some government agencies. How many ships do you have? Rex asked. Enough, Ben said. How many people? More every year, Tom replied. Rex realized that the Wanderer wasn't just one ship with 37 people. It was the heart of something much larger, a movement, a new kind of human organization that operated in the spaces between the official worlds. You're not just survivors, Rex said. You're building something. We're building what the galaxy forces us to build, Kira said. A place where humans don't have to be victims. A force that protects those who can't protect themselves. An army, Rex said quietly. A family, Emma corrected. A family that includes every human who refuses to be prey. The display zoomed out to show the entire galaxy again. Rex could see how vast it really was. How many dark corners there were. How many places where bad things happen to good people. The Council protects maybe 5% of human space, David said. The safe colonies, the major trade routes, the important systems. What about the other 95%, Tom asked. Rex knew the answer. The other 95% was left to protect itself, or to be protected by people like those standing around him. So what's your real message? Rex asked. What do you want me to tell the Council? Kira walked to the display and touched it. The image changed to show Council space, the safe, protected areas where Rex had spent his entire career. Tell them that the deep is not empty, she said. Tell them that humans are learning to live in places where the Council can't reach. Tell them that these humans are becoming something new. Tell them that we're not asking for permission anymore. Ben added. Tell them that we're taking responsibility for protecting our own people. David said. And tell them, Tom said quietly, that the galaxy is about to learn what humans really are when they stop pretending to be civilized. Rex looked around the command center, at the displays showing criminal networks, at the children learning to fight, at the adults who had become something that was barely human anymore. What if the Council decides you're a threat? Rex asked. Then they'll learn the same lesson the pirates learned, Emma said simply. You'd fight the Council? We'd do whatever we have to do to protect our people, Kira replied. Rex realized he was at a crossroads. He could return to his ship and report what he had found. He could call for reinforcements and try to stop these people. He could follow protocol and treat them as criminals. Or he could do something else. There's a third option, Rex said slowly. Which is? Kira asked. I could help you. The room went silent. Even the children stopped what they were doing. Help us how? David asked. Information, resources, warning you when the Council is planning, operations in your territory. Rex took a deep breath. I could be one of your friends inside the system. Mike stared at his captain. Sir, that would be treason. Would it? Rex asked. Or would it be choosing to protect humans instead of protecting politics? Kira studied Rex for a long moment. Why would you do that? Rex thought about all the reports on his desk, all the missing people, all the crimes that happened while he filled out paperwork and waited for permission to act. Because you're right, he said finally. The galaxy is big and dangerous and full of predators, and maybe it needs predators of its own to keep it balanced. And maybe, he continued, looking out at the stars, It's time for humans to stop being prey and start being hunters. Tom smiled. Welcome to the deep, Captain Rex. Outside the window, the void stretched endlessly in all directions. But Rex no longer saw it as empty space. He saw it as home to a new kind of human. Humans who had learned that the most dangerous thing in the galaxy wasn't some alien predator. It was the sound of perfect silence, moving through the dark between stars. And now, that silence had found a new voice. The Wanderer disappeared into the deep, carrying with it a message that would change everything. The empty spaces weren't empty anymore. They were full of humans who had learned to hunt, and the hunt was just beginning.